Hey, I'm Chris, and this is MMA for You. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for Invicta FC 18. But before I get into that, I'd like to plug my own author's website at www.chrismaldon.com. I am an author specializing in the fantasy genre, and you can purchase a couple of my works, starting with my first novel, a fantasy adventure called The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom for $4.99 at my website at www.chrismondon.com on PDF format, or if you have an e-reader, you can buy it for $4.99 on Amazon.com. Also, you can check out some of my short stories and short story collections, starting with the fantasy horror short story, The Land of the Wooden Statues, which I am currently trying to make into a full novel. Uh, the horror collection, which is a collection of three of my horror or my gothic horror short stories, and my fantasy fable collection, which is a collection of four of my fantasy fable short stories. So onto the card. I thought it was a pretty good card. Not too many fights were like particularly grinding. There were a lot of good finishes. Um, some fighters got beat up pretty bad in this card. Not good technique displayed here. Nothing but prospects who a lot of them looked really good here, looked improved. So there was a lot to like with this card. My picks, I went 7 out of 8. The only one that I missed was Cindy Dandoff versus Jasmine Duke. And as far as bonuses go, excuse me, as far as bonuses go, performance of the night went to Alexa Grasso and Megan Anderson, while fight of the night went to Tessa Simpson versus Simona Sukapova. Okay, let's get started. In the main event, Alexa Grasso defeated Jody Escobar by unanimous decision. She even got a 30-26 on the scorecard. I think that Alexa Grasso pretty much shook off the ring rust. She looked really good here, I thought. She landed a good jab and crosses. Her takedown defense looked much improved here, and her work in the clinch actually looked really good too. One thing I liked about her takedown defense is that she made Escobar pay for trying to take her down, and her work from the clinch, her knees and elbows looked really good. I'll say this, Jody Escobar looks pretty small for 115. I can kind of understand why she want to fight at 115. If she wants to get into the UFC, that's the division that they have. But I gotta say, moving forward, you know, she didn't even hit too hard at 105. And then on the ground, um, excuse me, on the ground, I mean, she's decent on the ground, but she's not great on the ground. So, like, I think she's going to have something of a hard time at 115, especially finishing opponents or really getting um, a huge advantage over opponents at 115. Um, but, like I said, if she wants to get into the UFC, which I'm guessing is what she wants to do, she'll probably stick with 115. She's got some good wins at 105. She has a win over Virginia Fry. She's someone I can see actually getting a title shot at 105. But at 115, I can't see it. She's going to be outsized in a lot of her fights. Alexa Grasso, though, there is a lot to like about Alexa Grasso. One, and a lot of, I read this a lot when people talk about Alexa Grasso. Why isn't she in the UFC yet? Her and Irene Aldana, I mean, they're pretty much UFC ready. I think, I'll even go a step farther and say that Alexa Grasso and Aldana, as far as boxing technique goes, they might have some of the best boxing technique in women's MMA. I'll actually go that far. I'm not saying that, like, And it's not like Rose Namajunas or Tisha Torres are bad boxers or anything like that, or anyone else for that matter. I kind of pointed them out because they're like higher level like fighters, But as far as like clean striking goes, I mean, like Shevchenko and Joanna Jacek, they have really clean striking technique. But Grasso also has some really clean striking technique. She moves well. She hits hard. Like, she hits surprisingly hard. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at her, but she is a hard hitter. She throws in combinations, and she punches correctly and cleanly. You know. And defense. Oh yeah, the other thing is defensively too. She moves her head really well. Um, Alexa Grasso is also really young. I want to say she's only 21 and 22. She has a fan-friendly fighting style, and she's very marketable. Um, she very well could be like a star for the UFC. I really believe that too. I've always been really high on her, so obviously I'm gonna be kind of biased here, but like you know, like she has a lot of things working for her. Fan friendly fighting style, looks, marketability, um, charisma. She's not super charismatic, but it does help that one. She's from Guadalajara, Mexico. So it's like, she's from a market that the UFC has been trying to penetrate as of late, and having she can be a big star down there. Um, and she does speak English now too. She did pretty much did her whole post fight analysis in English, so she has that going for her, and she's young, fun fighting style. There's a lot to like about her. Um, as far as who Grasso gets next, it sounds like she's gonna get a matchup with Angela Hill next, and I think that's just fine. She's beaten Mizkia No Way. This is actually, Jodie Esquibel's not a bad fighter. This is, I thought, a pretty solid win for Alexa Grasso. It makes sense. It's a fight that I think fans would look forward to. I mean, yeah, there's other fighters out there that would be good matchups for Grasso, but I think stylistically and timing wise, Angela Hill is on the up and up. She just won the title. She's looking a lot better. And then Alexa Grasso is also someone that's coming up in the ranks. One of the, I would actually even argue one of the best prospects in women's MMA right now. And stylistically, they're both primarily strikers. So that's a fight I'd like to see next. With the Escobar, it's women's MMA, so it really is a case of, and it's regional women's MMA too. So it's not like the UFC where they can like almost always match winners with winners, and people coming off losses with another person coming off a loss. Um, there just aren't enough fighters a lot of times within the same level of experience to be able to do that. So with Escobar, it's really just whoever they can find next. I'd like to see her fight at 105, but if she insists on fighting at 115, there's no shortage of fighters for her to fight. Next fight, that I can't pronounce her name, so I'm just gonna try my best. I cannot pronounce Agnieszka Nedwidge. I think it's Nedwidge or Nedwidge or something like that. I'll say Nedwidge. Defeated Christine Stanley by unanimous decision. What's cool about Nedwidge though is that I was watching her in Cage Warriors, and she was like a 19-year-old prospect who was doing pretty well. So she had a kid, and now she's 21 years old, and she looks better. I picked Nedwidge to win against Stanley. Here's the thing with Stanley, why I thought she'd lose. because I didn't get to actually say it because Stanley was a late replacement. Um, Stanley took the fight on short notice. I didn't know when I made the prediction. I didn't know that she would fail to make weight, but she did. But Stanley doesn't have the best cardio. That was one of the primary factors as why I picked Nedwidge to win this one. Um, doesn't have the best cardio, and as fan friendly as her fighting style is, she leaves a lot of openings. So she left a lot of openings to get taken down, especially. But even standing, she's pretty wild in the stand up. Um, but I like Nedved's striking. I remember in Cage Warriors, she showed a good jab, but not much else. It's just kind of like, okay, here she's showing a couple more power strikes, putting combinations together, going forward more, showing a good chin, too. She also greatly out-grappled Stanley, too. Her timing for some of her takedowns were real slick. I mean, she was just hitting takedowns, like, real easily. It was, uh, I'm actually pretty high on her right now because she has a good level of striking and pretty strong grappling, too. She has a judo base. And I gotta say, they fight at flyweight. I am actually very high on the proposition of seeing the UFC having a true women's flyweight division. Um, if you actually look at Invicta FC's website, as far as quantity goes, flyweight actually has the most fighters. And then you have good prospects as well. You have Andrea KGB Lee, and now like Agnieszka Nedźwiedź, and some other prospects too, and they're young. So Nedźwiedź is only 21. And Christine Stanley, she's a bit older, but she's something of a fun action fighter for them. In a sense, you can still call her a prospect because she has not been fighting very long, but she is a bit older. But at the very least, she can have fun fights. So, they have prospects, they have fun action fighters, they have a lot of veterans too, which kind of, I'm kind of hoping that they slow down with Nedwidge and don't give her too high level of competition moving forward. Like, the problem with flyweight, and a lot of women's divisions in general, is that, like, you have your prospects and young fighters who are just, like, closer to the bottom, and then you have your veterans and top 10 fighters. And there's no middle ground. There's really, like, I can't really say, oh yeah, this person's a definitive mid-level fighter. They don't really have that in a lot of women's divisions. They just don't have the quantity yet. Strawweight's kind of getting that though. So how it goes to Nedwidge is like, she just beat Christine Stanley. I don't want to see her fight like Sarah DeLalio or Roxanne Modafferi next. Roxanne Modafferi is greatly improved and has been just killing off prospects. I mean, she's just been picking them off. Mariana Moraes, who's only like 20 or 21. Andrea KGB Lee, he's like one of the best prospects in women's mixed martial arts. And then she recently beat Deanna Bennett. She, like, Roxanne's improved, and she's like a true veteran. And Sarah DeLalio is the same way. She's just a true veteran. I don't want to see Agnieszka fight someone like that at this point of her career. At this point, I'd probably like to see her fight like Rachel Ostovich, who's a pretty decent prospect at flyweight. You can have some pretty fun ground battles as well. I think that'd be one of the better fights for her next. I mean, she's still a prospect, but could give her a challenge type of fighter. With Christine Stanley, I mean, it's just whoever they can give her. Excuse me. Next off that, Cindy Dandois defeated Jessamine Duke by armbar in the first round. So this is the only one I got wrong, and my hope was that Jessamine Duke would get out of her slump in this fight, would be able to keep the fight standing and beat up Dandois on the feet, and not get out grappled. The only problem is she got out grappled quite quickly too. Um, what I was saying in the predictions was that I thought that Duke wasn't losing her fights because she's now on a five-fight losing streak, but she wasn't losing her fights because she was getting out grappled. She was getting out struck. I didn't feel Cindy Dandois had the striking ability to really um, beat her standing. But um, she ended up losing anyways. And I gotta say this right now with Cindy Dandois, I gotta stop underestimating her. I've been underestimating her a lot. Um, and while Dandois, I don't think will ever really have that good of striking. Her grappling has reached a point of being quite solid. Her ability to take fights to the ground is good, and once she's on top, she's good at staying on top and working for dominant positions and whatnot. Back in the days with Dandois, I always felt that her grappling was reckless. I felt that she still goes for those head and arm throws, which I hate, but then she'd lose position too. In her grappling position, in grappling. Um, I feel that Dandois at this point is just so much better with her grappling. Now it's just solid. She's not losing positions like she used to, and she'd lose them quite easily. When she's on top, she stays on top, and her ability to take fights to the ground is really good. She even has a win. I want to say it's a triangle choke. I want to say it's from her back too, against Megan Anderson. Not 100% sure about that, but I should probably double check that. But she's really good on the ground. And I'll say this too: women's bantamweight, and it's something I just noticed. Analyze, with the post-fight analysis here, is there's strikers in the division like Shevchenko and whatnot home, but for the most part, there are still a good amount of Cindy Dandois in bantamweight doing really well and even becoming champions. What I mean is grapplers, strong enough grapplers with poor striking technique. And other examples in the UFC of that, Juliana Pena. She just came off a win over Kat Zingano and using virtually no striking. She just out grappled her. Ronda Rousey, poor striking technique, awesome grappler. You know, I'm not gonna say that Cindy Dandois is gonna be like the next champion, but it's a proven style at this point in women's bantamweight that can win fights in the UFC level and even at the highest level. I don't think that's necessarily the case. That's not necessarily the case in women's strawweight, especially Joanna and Jacek. No one outgrapples her. Like maybe for like 2 rounds, but it's called like Gedalia showed. Yeah, it's just gonna be for 2 rounds, you know. Um, but yeah, you can be a poor striker and a strong grappler in the UFC, in the UFC's women's bantamweight division, and just in the women's bantamweight division in general, and get wins. Tanya Evinger, not exactly the. She's a better striker than Dandois and hits harder, but she's still on a technical level a pretty poor striker. But she's a really strong grappler. Um, so yeah, even at a really high level, Dando's style could get some pretty big wins. Um, with that said, with Duke, my thing with Jessamyn Duke is that she is fighting too strong of opposition too early in her career, and now it's wrecked her. I really feel that's more of the case with her than anything else. Because it's like, fighting like Leslie Smith, I mean, yeah, she fought Elizabeth Phillips, who is someone she maybe could have beat. Even like Betch Correia, Betch Correia is not that bad, you know. She's not great. She's not that good, but she's not that bad. Um, but then like before this fight, she fought Irene Aldana, and now she's fighting Cindy Dandridge. Like it's all solid competition, solid to great competition. You know. Um, and I think it just ruined her. Uh, she got into UFC way too soon, and now she's kind of paying the price for it. Um, the thing with her is if she keeps fighting, I don't know. She looks like she might retire. Um, honestly, just give her like someone that's like 1-1. Give her someone that's 0-2. I mean, honestly, yes, can crush. You know, yes, fighters do need matchups to get their confidence back. You know, um, when you just keep fighting like solid competition and losing, maybe if she decides to fight, give her like give her like Jessica Hoy. You know, and hey, no offense to Jessica Hoy, I actually thought she fought pretty well against Aspen Ladd. It just experience-wise, she's what 1-1. You know, at this point, Jessamine Duke should probably just be fighting. You know, fighters of 2, 3 fights maybe. That haven't been fighting for a while. Just get her confidence back up, and if she decides to keep fighting, wouldn't be surprised if she retires. I know there's some rumors where she tried out for like WWE or something like that. Um, but yeah, it's pretty sad with Jessamine Duke seeing her fall because when she came into Invicta, she was one of the hottest prospects, and now she's kind of a dud. It kind of sucks actually to see it. Um, with that said, you know, with Dandor, I gotta have to wonder if she wants to get into UFC. I think she's good enough. I think she can get wins in the UFC. She's only like 31. I think it's her time at the very least. She's sixth with Invicta. I wouldn't. I don't think it's the worst thing to see her rematch Tanya Evinger. I don't think it's a fight she'd win. Others around her level, I mean, maybe give her like an Edian Gomez if they haven't fought already. Raquel Paului would be pretty good. I don't know. I think Penny Kianzad retired, but Penny Kianzad versus Cindy Dandwa would be pretty cool. Um, so they're good matchups for her. It's really, it's kind of tough to say where she goes next. Maybe she fight Irene Aldana because they're both coming off wins. That wouldn't be the worst thing too. And they both lost to Evinger, so whenever that gets Evinger or something like that. So we'll see what happens with Sandy Dandwall next. So right after that, Megan Anderson defeated Peggy Morgan by TKO in the first round, in the first round. This was a mismatch that, in a sense, I can't blame Invicta FC for making, just because the thing with Megan Anderson is they like Megan Anderson. Fans like Megan Anderson that know who she is. And honestly, there's a lot to like about her because, quite honestly, she is really the only notable fighter at women's featherweight outside of Chris Cyborg that people are really talking about, that are generally excited about. I know there's that one fighter who just beat Marlis Kunin, but I can't really say that there's like any real buzz about her. And then there's like Julia Budd and Bellator. Um, but otherwise, it's Megan Anderson, and she just wrecked Morgan, Peggy Morgan, real bad. Her right hand always caught the mark. Her cheek was so swollen. I heard that like she did not break her jaw, which is good. But man, I gotta say this with Peggy Morgan. Peggy Morgan's problems are all a lot. It's all a skill thing. She's a bit older too. So I don't know if she's gonna get any better than she is, and she's kind of a poor striker. She's a relatively poor grappler. She's just kind of big, and she gets hit, And anyone that hits remotely hard, whether it's Latoya Walker, Megan Anderson, Irene Aldana, have managed to connect cleanly with Peggy Morgan and quite a bit, you know. Um, and this fight particularly, she got her face rearranged, like literally rearranged. Um, I don't know if she should, like if she retired tomorrow, I think that might be a good thing for her. To be honest with you, obviously I'm not family, a friend, or anything like that, just some outsider. But it's just when I see her fight anyone like remotely good, she tends to get beat up. I mean, that's kind of her story, when I see her fights. Megan Anderson, on the other hand, there's a lot to like about Megan Anderson. She's marketable. She's legit big for this weight class, too. Um, that's the thing. She doesn't look like someone that can cut to 135. I would be very surprised. Maybe to 140, but I'd be very surprised if she can cut to 135. In a like healthy manner, you know. I remember seeing a picture of her next to Andrea KGB Lee, who's pretty big for 125 and can probably fight at 135. And Megan Anderson looked huge compared to Andrea Lee. She's a lot taller, for one thing, but she's just a lot bigger. So she's marketable. She's got the size. She's just relatively charismatic on the mic, I think people are starting to take notice of her. And she has a fan-friendly fighting style. Her striking's good. She strikes in combination. She uses good range. And then on top of that, her ground game's not that bad. I still feel it's the weakest aspect of her game. But I don't think it's too much of a liability. It was a bit something of a red flag of the way she got swept by Morgan, in the sense, you know, um, it's a technique I use. You put like the feet on hips, or sometimes it's like the knees, um, and then you grab the ankles, and you can only do this if someone's square and standing over you, and you just pull on the ankles, and then you push on the hips, and you just get tripped up, and you don't see it a lot in MMA because it's just bad form to be square with your opponent, standing over them, heck, it's bad form to do that in BJJ. Otherwise, I mean, it's a small thing, heat of the moment or whatever, it happened, and even then, she reversed position and got on top. So I mean, it's not a big problem of hers. I think she can handle herself on the ground quite well. She hits hard. Strikes in combination, good knees and whatnot, good cardio. So a lot to like about Megan Anderson. The biggest problem is, if you see it as a problem with Megan Anderson, is that she's probably gonna get rushed in the fight with Chris Cyborg quite quickly. I would give her like at least like two more fights before she fights Chris Cyborg. I personally don't think she's ready, but I will say this: she definitely is someone who can get an upset win over Chris Cyborg. Hear me out. Look at Chris Cyborg's last opponents. None of them are that good of strikers. None of them actually hit that hard. So here's the thing with Megan Anderson. She's big for the weight class. She's primarily a striker, and a pretty good one at that one. And she hits hard. Okay? And Chris Cyborg, up to this point, hasn't fought anyone like that I can really think of. Obviously, Maria Demova isn't like that. Leslie Smith doesn't hit hard, and she's small for the weight class. I mean, she's small for 135. You know, Faith Van Doon. Like, she's not a great striker. Charmaine Tweet, not a great striker. I mean, yeah, she can pull off like a cool spinning back fist, but she's actually not a great striker. On a technical level, she's quite sloppy. You know, Chris Cyborg's fight a lot of grappling-based fighters. Even Marlos Kunin is primarily a grappling-based fighter. She has relatively clean stand-up, but she does not hit hard. Um, so Megan Anderson, honestly, like even if they fight next, Megan Anderson's probably the one fighter that can pull off the upset against Chris Cyborg. Because stylistically, Anderson actually has a lot going for her to beat Cyborg. That's not to say that Cyborg can't just blitz Anderson and get the win, but it's going to be a really surprising fight, you know? I'm very curious to see how that fight would turn out. And the thing is, like I said, there's no one else for Chris Cyborg to fight that isn't just some can, or like someone she's already fought, or like just an absolute mismatch, you know. Megan Anderson, at the very least, looks like someone that is a legit threat to Chris Cyborg. Like if they fought next, I don't think people will say, oh, some people will say mismatch because people don't know who Megan Anderson is. I think the people that do know who she is are probably like, oh, okay, hey, this is actually a good matchup. It's just too much too soon, you know? What I'd like to see from Megan Anderson is for her to fight Charmaine Tweet next. Tweet's big for the weight class. She's very experienced. Still has some holes in her game, but still a good test. Um, but yeah, I would bet that they're probably gonna go with Megan Anderson versus Chris Cyborg next. Next fight after that, Tessa Simpson defeated Simona Sukapova by unanimous decision. This fight got fight of the night, and for good reason. It was a fun fight. Man, Tessa Simpson's striking was really good. Her combination punching was good. Her Muay Thai, I think she hit some good knees too on Sukapova. I was pretty high on Tessa Simpson coming into this fight. She's only 29. She took some years off, like a year, or she took some time off. And she came back. She's primarily a grappling-based fighter, and her striking, and this was primarily a stand-up fight. Simona though did drop Simpson in the third, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I liked a lot of what I saw from Tessa Simpson here. I think atom weight. The cool thing with atom weight is that you are seeing a lot more. You're seeing, because the way I see training, if you're a smaller fighter, you tend to be the more technical fighter. Like when I do BJJ, and I see this all the time, like the big guys use their strength. And so when you're smaller, you have to rely on technique because you're not going to outstrength anyone. I do that, you know? I'm one of the smaller guys in my gym. Just a lot of guys are just bigger and or stronger than me, or both. And that's the thing that I noticed with women's atom weight is that a lot of fighters are good on a technical level. They don't have a lot of fighters. They do have a good amount of young fighters, though. I think it's a division that's coming up, and you are actually seeing that. Like Amber Brown versus Ayaka Hamasaki, that title fight they had for the women's atomweight title. I mean, that was just like this like technical marvel on the ground. It was just good ground stuff, like fighting, you know. And I think you see it here too. It's just kind of like Tessa Simpson. She was already a good, pretty technical on the ground. You know, it's not too surprising that she's gonna get more technical on the feet. I don't know how many like women she's training with, especially if you're training with guys. You just tend to just be, you kind of have to be the more technical fighter, I suppose. I'm kind of assuming now. But anyways, Liked what I saw from Simpson. I think moving forward, she's going to be a good atomweight prospect. Um, Still only like 29 years old, not too many fights. Good on the ground, improved striker. Very much uh, uh, curious to see where she goes moving forward. Don't have any specific opponents for her. I mean, I suppose if you want to go with like Ginny Fry or like Amber Brown or something like that, that's pretty high up there. But it's just for both of them, it's just whoever they can give these opponents, see who they should get. Next right after that, Michigan Inoue defeated Lynn Alvarez by armbar in the second round. Inoue looked great. I mean, there's a lot to like with about Michigan Inoue. One thing I really liked about this fight in particular was the adjustment that she made. I'm really glad because what happened is Lynn Alvarez was actually doing good. She'd circle out, throw a strike, and circle out. And I can tell Michigan had a tough time dealing with that. So what she did, she kind of just closed distance, got her up against a cage, and then she worked more of her grappling game. Hit some good takedowns. You know, the one that started off the finish too was the arm drag. I mean, that was just like I was like, wow, she's got a really deep bag of tricks, and her ability to pass the mount, to pass the dominant positions, is real slick. There's a lot to like about Michigan Inoue. I think the biggest problem with Michigan Inoue is that as good as she is standing, she's not a knockout threat. I don't think she ever will be because she's kind of small for a weight class. But otherwise, a lot to like about her. Um, she's real young, 21, I think. Fan-friendly fighting style. I mean, she's marketable in the sense that she's so unassuming that it's almost intriguing to watch her fight. Because it's like she looks like she's 21, but she honestly looks like some Japanese schoolgirl. You know, you wouldn't think that she's a fighter. Heck, I hear she works at a Subway, you know, a Subway fast food chain. You know, it's like you never think that she's like a top woman's fighter. You know, and in a sense, it's almost intriguing to see her fight. Um, but as far as who she should get next, I think Grasso's ahead of her in the pecking order, especially since Grasso did beat her. I mean, it was kind of like a year or two ago, a year ago, but Grasso's probably ahead of her at this point. If she gets a title shot next, it wouldn't be the worst thing. If not, I think a really interesting stylistic matchup would be Inoue versus Sharon Jacobson. Just because Jacobson, she's not a great striker, but she's big for that weight class, and she has really good wrestling. So I kind of wonder if Inoue can deal with that. Someone who's bigger, like this bigger wrestler. Another matchup I think that would be pretty intriguing for Inoue would be Livia Hanatasuza, former champion, who's really good on the ground and then improving on the feet. So I think that would be a fun stylistic matchup for Inoue as well. It's also like Kayleen Medeiros, who's coming off a good win, who has a good takedown and ground and pound game. Um, so any one of those matchups would be good. With Lynn Alvarez, just whoever they can find for her. Next fight, that Aspen Ladd defeated Jessica Hoyt by TKO in the second round. Um, there's something a bit alarming about this fight, and it's not the fight itself. It's the fact that she didn't make weight for bantamweight. Ladd didn't. Because the fact of the matter is, Ladd used to fight at 125. She's still young. She's only like 20, 21, 22 or something like that. So she's probably just still, like, growing and whatnot into her body and whatnot. You know? So it's fine for her to move to bantamweight. The problem is, you can see her. She's not, like, the biggest bantamweight. And she'd be a small featherweight, you know? So it's a bit... It's not a good look for her that she didn't make weight for 135. Especially since she was making weight. She has made weight for 125, you know? With that said, though, performance-wise, Ladd was pretty much what she does. She's something of a bully fighter. She gets her hands on her opponents, takes them down, and beats them up. And she pushes forward and just wants to beat up her opponent, which is fine. It works. It works for her. It works for her style. She's not a bad striker. Defensively, she's not that good, but she's always pushing forward and she's high pressure. Once she can hit the fight to the ground, dude, her ability to pass the mount is really good, and her ground and pound is fight ending. I thought Jessica Hoy actually did pretty well for herself here, though. I felt that what it is I think, for more or less, she did her homework. She was getting outstruck a bit, but she didn't do bad in stand up. There were times she was up against cage and can defend a takedown and knew what to watch out for. So there was actually a lot to like about Jessica Hoy here. This was her like second pro MMA bout. Because Aspen Ladd's like fourth, and Aspen Ladd's pretty much one of the better women's MMA prospects out there. So with that said, Aspen Ladd, I don't want to see her get like a Raquel Palui or Eddie Gomez or Irene Aldana next. I'd like to see her get like a Jessica Rose Clark or something like that next. Something that's like decent, but not like this crazy threat to her. That's not super high up there because Ladd's still very much a prospect. The toy, just like I said, whoever they can give her, really. And finally, Sajara Eubanks defeated Amberlyn Orr by TKO in the first round. There's a lot to like about Sajara Eubanks. She's actually a top Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. I believe she just won, third place in the Worlds or something like that. So she's really good on the ground. She's really strong, too. Her stand-up looks like it's improving. She throws a lot of overhand rights, which isn't the best, but, it's still a work in progress. And, the person she lost to before this fight was, Caitlin Chukagian, who just won her first fight in the UFC. So, yeah, she's a good prospect. She's coming up. She already has a pretty good takedown and ground and pound game, and just overall ground game. I think this was a stylistic nightmare for Amberlyn Orr because she's not a great striker, but she's pretty good on the ground. But sometimes she'll be too content off of her back. And against Sajara Eubanks, she's like this world-class grappler. That's just not going to cut it. Amberlyn Orr is actually not a bad prospect. I think she just fought a really terrible stylistic matchup at this point of her career. But both of them should just get whoever Invicta FC can really find for them. So, that's it for my post-fight analysis for Invicta FC 18. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And please check out some of my works, starting with my first novel, The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for $4.99 on my website or at Amazon.com. And also for just $1.99, check out some of my short stories and short story collections. So that's pretty much it for MMA for You. Thank you guys very much.